Hello and welcome back to Art Masters with me, Mrs. Portilla. Today we are going to be doing work by illustrator John James Audubon. He loved doing realistic paintings of birds. He studied so many and he sketched so many birds. So he often did, before he did like a final painting like this, he did small detailed drawings or sketches of the birds. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be picking a bird, maybe a little sandpiper like one we see at the beach, and we're going to break it down into small, simple shapes as we sketch, and then we'll add some more detail using chalk pastel and colored pencils. So let's get ready to do our bird illustrations with Audubon. So to get started with our bird illustration by Audubon, we are going to start with a quick sketch. So a quick sketch is just going to be some basic shapes. So first we're going to decide on which bird we want to do today. So remember, Audubon was realistic, so we're going to pick some simple birds like the spotted sandpiper or maybe the least sandpiper. So sandpipers are those little birds that you might see on the beach that stick their long beaks in the sand to try to get those sand crabs. So if I'm doing this guy here, a quick sketch would be a circle shape for his head. Then maybe like this kind of looks like half of a bowl, half of a circle, right? So we're gonna make kind of a smiley face with a line, and then just a simple line for his beak and his leg. That's called a quick sketch. So it doesn't look exactly like the bird. We're just breaking down the bird into basic shapes. So for this sandpiper, so we're gonna watch first how I do the quick sketch. I'm going to get a light chalk pastel. These are the soft pastels. So we just want a nice light color to do our sketch. So when we're using our chalk pastels, we're gonna use the side to make the big swoop shapes. Let's practice on our newsprint, like that. If you use the point, it's gonna make a nice, dark, thick line. So that's how our chalk pastels work. Now let's get into our sketch. So I'm gonna start with my circle for a head. I like to hold my chalk loosely. Circle for my head. Now you'll notice I want to make space for the rest of my bird. So when I look at this picture, I can see the head's kind of up here in this corner. If I put it right in the center, I'm not going to have a lot of space for my bird. That's why we're doing a quick sketch. So we have our placement. So I have my little circle up top. Then I'm either going to do kind of an ovally shape, or I'm going to follow along like this one where I do kind of a happy face with a line where it looks like a half circle. So I'm gonna look at my bird. I'm gonna kind of use a happy face. And then I'm gonna kind of connect loosely to my head. Okay, so this is what we're gonna start with. Two simple shapes, and then we'll add some more. So go ahead and pass out our white paper and our soft pastels. And we're gonna pick a light colored pastel. So if you were choosing between these two, this is the light one, right? We want a nice light one. And we're gonna sketch our circle head and our half circle body. Excellent, so you guys should have your two basic shapes of your bird. Now I'm gonna add just a couple more of the little details. We're still doing a quick sketch. We're not working on our final details. So I'm gonna use my chalk pastel, and I'm doing this bird here. So I'm just gonna mark where his legs are, and then I'm gonna mark where his beak is. So let me zoom in a little bit so it'll be a little easier for you guys to see. I'm going to notice the direction that his beak is going. It's pointing down. So I'm gonna go like this. I'm just drawing a line. I just wanna get the direction. His legs, are they perfectly straight? They're not. This one's kind of making a 7, right? Is that a backwards 7? And This one is almost straight. And those legs are about in the middle of his body. So I'm going to kind of find the middle of his body. And I'm going to make this leg here. And I'm going to do this leg here. Okay? So we're going to just mark where his beak and his legs are. And then now I'm going to kind of extend his tail a little bit. Do you see how there's just kind of some rounded triangles at the end? So I'm just going to extend his tail and kind of just round the triangles. Still doing a quick sketch with my chalk. And now I'm going to kind of just make a little space for his wing. So his wing is kind of the same thing like a happy face. So I'm going to use the side of my chalk and I'm going to kind of make that happy face or U shape. So I'm going to grab my chalk, I'm going to start his tail, and I'm kind of making that U shape. So now he has a little bit of space for his wing, and he has legs and a beak. So go ahead and take your chalk and add a little bit more detail to the tail and one swoop for a wing. Great, so now we're gonna add a little bit of color. So if we're doing this least sandpiper, it talks about his legs, but it says here his chest is spotted with white and reddish browns. So I might now take a little bit of brown and just use the side just on his chest a little bit, and I'm gonna circle kind of around his head, just like that. So you could also use a little bit of red if you wanted to. For my spotted sandpiper, it talks about black spots on its white belly, so we don't want to put too much dark there. It has an orange area at the base of its bill, and its wings are many shades of brown. So if you're doing our other guy, you might want to add a little bit of the dark brown by his wing, okay? So if you want, you can add just a little bit of color using the side of your chalk. If you need help reading which color to use, you can ask your teacher or the helper, but looks like a little bit of dark, the brown or the red is a good choice here. And then when we do that, I'm going to use my tissue. And when we use our tissue, we do tiny circles. So I'm going to do my little tiny circles, and I'm just going to kind of blend in my chalk pastels. Okay, and then you tap, tap, tap. And now you should kind of have a rough sketch of your bird with a little bit of color. So go ahead and add just a little bit of brown or red, just a little, using the side of your chalk. And then you're going to blend with your tissue. And then you tap, tap to get rid of any of that extra chalk. And then we'll go in and add more details. Awesome, so now we're gonna look at our paper a little bit closely, and this least sandpiper, the one I'm doing, has yellow-green legs. So I'm gonna get my colored pencils out, and I might use two colors. So yellow-green legs. So with pencil, we could be a lot more detailed, right? It's easier to control with our pencil. And then I'm gonna use my green and just go over it. So now I'm thinking about a little bit more detail. This talks about he has a thin, dark, orange, brown bill. So a bill is like his beak, which is kind of a triangle shape. So I'm going to use my two colors, and I'm going to define the shape into a triangle using my orange and my brown. Okay, so let's go ahead and do colored pencils for their legs and their beak. Awesome, so now we're going to add his very important wing, right? So most of these guys, this one doesn't talk about his wings, so I'm going to use the brown or reddish brown. This guy, it says that his wings are many shades of brown. So when we're looking at our wing, we're still looking at the shapes. When we're drawing, we don't want to get overwhelmed. We just want to look at the basic shape. So this is kind of kind of ovalish, right? Right here. But then they turn into a triangle point at the end. So this is also in the middle of his body. So I'm gonna go in with my pencil in the middle of his body, and I'm just gonna kind of make this ovally shape. Right? Just like. And then I'm gonna extend my smiley face all the way to his tail. I'm not pushing hard while I'm just kind of getting this idea of a line. And now I'm gonna add maybe 2 more little layers here to make his tail look more like a tail. So now I'm looking at my picture and I'm trying to make this look realistic. And now I might go down around my bird's body. And then I notice a little shape up here that also looks like a little, maybe a very low curve of like a U shape, or again, a little smiley face. So I'm going to just add a little bit of a smiley face there. So let's. We're going to add our eye. So the eye is very important, right? It's a nice focal point. So I'm going to use my black for the eye, but I'm going to be really careful when I'm using black. And we're going to look at the placement on the bird. So his eye is in his head, right? So let's remember this is our head. This small circle shape is our head. If I put my pencil on the beak, it actually lines up with that eye. Do you see that? This is kind of one line. So I'm gonna kind of go like this. I'm not touching the paper, but I'm kind of measuring where my eye would be by following the beak and then putting a dot kind of in the middle of his head. So you kind of want that in line with the beak. And his eyeball isn't super big, is it? It's kind of small. It doesn't take too much of his head. So I'm just gonna make it about that size there. So let's go ahead and add a little eyeball kind of near our bird's beak. Excellent. Now we're going to add a little bit more detail. So this is going to be up to you how much detail you want to add. So I definitely want to add, this talks about he has a spotted white and reddish browns on his chest. And this guy has black spots on its white belly. So if you're doing this guy, you might want to add just a little bit of black spots. If you're doing the guy like I am, you want to add reddish brown spots. So I'm going to take my colored pencil and just going to put a couple of little. And then I want to add some more detail to my bird. So go ahead and add these spots, and then we're going to come back in and we're going to do some final details. Perfect. So we are going to add, our bird is missing feet. Feet can be hard, so it's kind of cool. Like Audubon usually put his birds in their natural habitat. So these birds, like I said, they go along the sandy beach and they look for sand crabs. So we're just going to draw these little squiggle lines of water around his legs. So then it looks like he is searching for animals in the water. And same with our friend here. We're just going to have these little squiggle lines of water. So water is blue, so I'm going to take my blue pencil and literally I'm just doing kind of a squiggly line. But I'm not coloring the whole bottom of the page. I'm just adding 2 little swirly spots so it looks like he's in the water. So go ahead and add a couple of squiggly blue lines right around both of his legs. Awesome. So now our bird's starting to look like a bird. But we're going to kind of go around our shape to make it more defined. So I'm going to use the brown because that's a little bit lighter than black because we don't want to get too dark with our shape. So I'm going to look at my picture and I'm going to decide what needs to be more defined on my bird. My bird needs more of a neck. So do you see where this body connects to his head? Kind of looks like a little bit of an S. I'm going to kind of go over that shape, and I'm just making kind of an S. And same thing around this side of his neck. I want to make that shape a little bit more. So now we're just kind of going to outline our shape with pencil so it stands out a little bit more. So go ahead and watch me and fast forward, and then you could decide how you want to go around your outline. Maybe you just want to go around a couple of areas of your outline. That's totally fine. So now I'm going to just add a couple more details. If you feel like you want to be done, that's fine. I'm going to make more details on his wing because I see that he's got these kind of loops in here. Pencil. So I'm going to come around his leg, make it look more like that's attached to his body. And then I'm going to add just some more layers with just some curved shapes, connecting his wings and making these look more like feathers. See how I took a little bit of black and I just added a little bit of lines here on his face, and I added a little beak line for him. So just go back in, read your little paper, make sure you have all the colors that you want in there. So go ahead and add any final details on your bird if you want to outline him, and then make sure you have your little swirls of water. So once you're done, you're going to glue your paper down. You're going to turn it around and glue your Audubon sticker on the back and put your name on the back. And for you older kids, if you want, you can use your pencil and you can put what type of bird you did. So if you did the spotted sandpiper, you can write that here. If you did the least sandpiper, you can write that here. This is optional. You don't have to do this part. Name, and great job doing your bird illustration with James Audubon. Great job today, guys, doing your illustrated bird by Audubon. Hopefully you guys came out with a really nice sketch that looks pretty realistic of our bird. Maybe you guys could point out the realistic colors, the contour line on the outside of your bird, the highlight and the shading. Hopefully you guys are really happy with your realistic illustration of birds by Audubon. Great job.